My boyfriend said he only wanted me to become the best version of myself. That sounded loving at first. Then I realized his best version of me was someone smaller, quieter, and easier to manage. I'm 24. My boyfriend, Adrian, is 32. We have been together for almost 2 years. Yes, there is an age gap. I know people will notice that immediately. I noticed it too. But when we met, it did not feel strange. Adrian was calm, serious, and stable in a way I had never experienced before. I had just moved to a new city. I had left behind a complicated family situation. I was lonely, insecure, and trying to prove I could build a life that was fully mine. He made me feel safe. At first, he was gentle about everything. If I got overwhelmed, he helped me breathe. If I felt ugly, he told me I was beautiful. If I panicked about work or money or whether I was falling behind in life, he made lists with me. He did practical things, real things. He fixed my sink, drove me to appointments, helped me move apartments. When my mother stopped speaking to me for a while, Adrian was the person who sat beside me while I cried. So when he started giving me advice, I listened. He said I should sleep earlier, eat cleaner, spend less time with people who drained me, exercise more consistently. At first, none of that sounded wrong. Honestly, most of it was not wrong. I was exhausted. I was scrolling too much. I was eating badly. I had gained weight after a difficult year and felt uncomfortable in my body. So when he said, "I just want you to feel confident again," I believed him. The problem is that support slowly turned into inspection. At first he would ask, "Did you eat today?" Then it became, "What did you eat?" Then, "How many calories was that?" Then, "Are you sure you need both?" The first time he touched my stomach and frowned, I froze. We were getting ready for bed. I was wearing shorts and an oversized shirt. He put his hand on my waist, then pinched the little softness below my stomach and said, "This is where you keep giving up." I laughed because I did not know what else to do. He said, "I'm serious. You're so close." I told him that hurt my feelings. He sighed, not angrily, almost tiredly. He said, "You said you wanted accountability." I said, "I wanted encouragement." He said, "Those are not always different things." That sentence became the theme of our relationship. Every hurtful thing became accountability. Every boundary became defensiveness. Every time I said he was making me feel worse, he said growth was uncomfortable. My best friend Clara hated it. Clara and I have been close since school. She is one of those people who walks into a room and everyone notices. Not because she tries, because she just has that energy. She is funny, beautiful, confident, and easy with people. For years, I loved that about her. Then I started resenting it, not because Clara changed, because I did. When Adrian met her, he was polite, too polite. On the way home, he said, "She has a lot of presents." I said, "She always has." He said, "You could have that too if you stopped hiding." I asked what that meant. He said, "You dress like you're apologizing for being seen." I know he thought that was motivational. It did not feel motivational. It felt like he had put me beside Clara and found me unfinished. After that, I became obsessed with how I looked next to her. If someone complimented Clara, I heard the silence around me. If a guy talked to her first, I assumed Adrian noticed. If she wore no makeup and still looked effortless, I went home and scrubbed off a full face of makeup feeling ridiculous. Adrian did not create that insecurity. I had it long before him, but he learned exactly where it lived, and he kept pressing there while calling it help. One weekend, we went on a short trip with his family. I was nervous because I still felt like I had to prove I belonged. His sister was kind. His father was quiet. His mother was one of those women who comments on food like it is weather. "Oh, you're having bread?" "Oh, I could never eat that late." "Oh, I'm being good today." Nothing directly cruel, just constant. At a rest stop, everyone got food. I got a sandwich and a sweet coffee. Adrian looked at the tray and said quietly, "That is a lot." I said, "I'm hungry." He said, "I'm not judging." I said, "You are literally judging." He leaned closer and said, "I just don't want you to spiral and hate yourself later." That was the part that confused me, because he was not completely wrong. Sometimes I did hate myself later. Sometimes I regretted eating things. Sometimes I cried about my body. But hearing my boyfriend say it in front of his family made me feel like a child being corrected. His mother heard enough to smile at me and say, "Men don't always know how to say it gently, but it's nice when they care." I put the sandwich down. Adrian said, "Don't do that, eat." I said, "I'm not hungry anymore." He looked frustrated. I looked difficult. That was usually how it went. A few weeks later, Clara invited me to see a small local theater production. She had gotten a small role. Nothing huge, but she was excited. I was proud of her. I also felt that ugly twist in my stomach. I told Adrian I was going. He said, "Are you sure that's good for you?" I asked what he meant. He said, "You always compare yourself to her." I said, "I'm trying not to." He said, "Then maybe don't keep putting yourself in situations where you feel inferior." I stared at him. I said, "Do you think I'm inferior to Clara?" He said, "No, I think you act like you are." I said, "That is not the same as answering no." He got annoyed. He said I was twisting his words. I said I was listening to them. He said, "This is why it's hard to help you." I said, "Maybe I don't need you to help me by explaining why my best friend makes me feel small." I went to the show. Clara was wonderful. Afterward, people crowded around her. Compliments, photos, hugs. I stood there smiling until my face hurt. Then a friend of hers turned to me and said, "You were so sweet cheering her on." That was all. Sweet, supportive, background. I cried in the bathroom, not because Clara had done anything wrong, because I hated that someone else's win could feel like proof I was losing. When I told Adrian later, I expected comfort. Instead, he said, "This is what I mean. You need to build a life where you are not always someone else's side character." I said, "I know." He said, "Then start acting like it." I asked him if he liked me as I was. He said, "Of course." I said, "Then why does loving me always sound like a renovation project?" He went quiet. Then he said, "Because I see what you could be." I said, "What if I just need someone to see what I am?" That was the first real crack. A few days later, Clara came over. I told her more than I meant to. The food comments, the stomach comment, the constant advice, the way I felt watched. She looked horrified. Then she said, "That isn't support." I defended him immediately. I said he had helped me through so much. She said, "Someone can help you and still hurt you." I hated that because it made everything less simple. Then she asked one question. If I told you my boyfriend grabbed my stomach and said that was where I kept giving up, what would you tell me? I did not answer, because I knew. Update 1. I talked to Adrian, not dramatically, not perfectly. I told him I needed the food and body comments to stop completely. Not soften, stop. He said he could try. I said, "No, I need you to agree." He said, "What if you ask for accountability again?" I said, "Then I will ask someone who knows the difference between accountability and shame." He looked hurt. I did not apologize. That surprised both of us. Update 2. He said he felt like I was turning him into the villain after everything he had done for me. I said, "I'm not denying what you did for me." He said, "Then why are you acting like I'm controlling?" I said, "Because gratitude is not consent to be controlled." That made him angry, quiet angry. He said, "I think Clara is putting things in your head." I said, "No. Clara asked me what I would say if it was happening to her." He said, "And now you're choosing her over me?" I said, "I'm choosing the part of me that still knows this feels wrong." Update 3. We are taking space. I do not know if we are breaking up. Part of me still wants him to be the man from the beginning, the calm one, the steady one, the one who held my hand when my life fell apart. That version was real. I know it was. But this version is real too. The one who loves my potential so much that he keeps making the present version of me feel unacceptable. I am trying to hold both truths without letting one erase the other. He helped me. He hurt me. Clara shines. That does not mean I am darkness. I gained weight. That does not mean my body belongs to someone else's opinion. I am insecure. That does not mean every criticism is care. I do not want love that only feels safe when I am improving. I do not want to earn gentleness by becoming smaller. Maybe Adrian and I can fix this. Maybe we cannot. But for the first time in a long time, I ate dinner tonight without reporting it to anyone. It was just pasta, nothing special. And somehow, it felt like a beginning.